One of my favorite episodes of the year, the annual Thanksgiving week here at Beef Up Front, where we cover the three Thanksgiving games and then give you the rest of the best games of the week as well. But Kev, week 13, Thanksgiving, I feel like that's when it really starts to hit that the season is winding down. We're in the last week of college football. It's crazy. This is the quickest season I can remember in both college and the NFL, but we're starting to see, as we say each and every week, teams separate from each other. It looks like there's a clear 1-2 in the NFC with the Eagles and the Lions. AFC, you look at the Chiefs, the Bills. I think you still throw the Ravens in there as well, and a handful of other contenders. But we're starting to really see who's elite and who's kind of just going to be a playoff team, and then with the bottom feeders as well. It's starting to get into the territory of where we're looking at draft standings and who's going to be picking number 1, 2, and 3. But welcome back, Kev. Happy early Thanksgiving to everyone. And how are we doing?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun this time of year. A lot of people say that the NFL season doesn't start until Thanksgiving because, like you were kind of touching on, you don't truly know who's going to be good and bad, and we're definitely starting to see that now with a clearer picture.
Yeah, I saw today Rappaport tweeted around like 4-ish when I was leaving work. The first playoff clinching scenarios are out. The Bills can win the AFC East this week if they win, and the Dolphins lose on Thursday. The Packers, we'll talk about both those games. Kansas City can make the playoffs, or they just clinch a playoff berth this week. I don't think they can clinch the division. And Detroit, they can clinch a playoff spot as well this week. Detroit and Kansas City need a little bit more to happen. But the Bills, all they need to do is win, and the Dolphins lose, and they already clinched the AFC East. So when those things start to pop up, you really know that we're getting down the home stretch here, and it's becoming go time, and put up or shut up for a lot of these teams. Recap week 12 real quick. 11-7 week for me. 3-2 straight up. 2-3 against the spread. 4-1 on my total is probably my best total week of the season. 1-0 on my dog of the Bears plus 3.5. We'll talk about them as they're the first Thanksgiving game. They lose by 3 in overtime to the Vikings, and 1-0 with my lock of the week of the Lions minus 7.5. 0-1 on my touchdown score. Brian Robinson got hurt early in the game and did not come back in. 8-10 week from you, Kev. 3-2 straight up. 3-2 against the spread. 2-3 on the over under. 0-1 on your dog of Pats plus 7. 0-1 on the lock of Washington minus 10, and maybe what was the craziest game of the day. And 0-1 on your touchdown score of George Pickens in the Snow Bowl on Thursday night. But we got a lot of picks this week and a chance to maybe close some ground on our records that haven't been as great in some weeks, but have been really good in some other weeks. So a huge week this week. As we said, we'll cover the 3 games on Thanksgiving and then the rest of the best games as well. But we start on Thursday, as always, with the Detroit Lions hosting the Bears this year. The Lions come into this one in a category and a stratosphere that I don't think they've ever been in on Thanksgiving. At 10-1, they host the 4-7 Bears. 12:30 kick on CBS. Lions 10.5-point favorite here. Over under 48.5. And if you remember last year, Kev, Lions going into that Thanksgiving game, we're sitting there at 8-2, I believe, against the Packers. The Packers go to Ford Field, beat the Lions. As we know, the Lions still wind up going to the NFC Championship game, but that kind of spearheaded a Packers run that the Packers were one of the better teams over the second half of the year. So all eyes on Detroit. Are they going to pull a same old Lions in this one or get it done in front of the home crowd and continue to look like the best team in the league?
I think they get it done here. I think this year's Bears team is a lot different than last year's Packers team. I had the Lions winning pretty easily again this week, 30-10. So still covering that 10.5 they're getting, under 48.5. I just don't see any way you can pick against the Lions here. The Bears do just continue to lose in heartbreaking fashion. Their only goal for the rest of the year is to try and just restore Caleb Williams' confidence and then just hopefully fire their coach and get someone new in there next year. And then on top of that, the Lions are just a relentless team. I expect them to beat up on the Bears. They can do it all sorts of way on the ground, through the air. And then their defense also continues to play well despite injuries that they're having to key players. I think the Lions keep setting the pace for the 1 seed in the NFC here.
Yeah, don't have much on this one. I think the Bears, who have been my dog the past 2 weeks, I thought they had a chance to turn it around against the Packers and win that one outright. They get the field goal block this time, expires, still cover the spread. Same thing last week. Comes down to some little details and some special teams. Caleb played really well last week, but they do cover the 3.5 by losing by 3 in overtime. I think now sitting there at 4-7, I thought the last 2 weeks was all right. Maybe if they can get a win, at least in one of those 2 games, they can potentially make a run at the 7 seed or something. They might have to win out. They maybe only could lose one of those games going forward, but still maybe had a chance. But now sitting here at 4-7, I think they're a team that's definitely on quit watch after losing the way they did last week. It's hard to kind of bounce back. And now you're going to Detroit, who's arguably the best team in the league, best team covering the spread for multiple years in a row now. Just kind of have it here in my notes. Just blind bet the Lions, you win money. I saw a lot of people even on Twitter this week saying that they're pretty much just an ATM at this point. So they're just going to continue to lock in the Lions there until they give you a reason otherwise, lose maybe 2-3 games in a row against the spread. Then you can look elsewhere, but they've been automatic this year. I'll take them 30-10 in this one. Lions minus 10.5 and under 48.5. And potentially Matt Eberflus gets fired by Friday morning if that's the result there. All right, we go to the 4:30 window on Fox. Bit of a snoozer here. This is a good time for everyone to eat their Thanksgiving meal, especially with the night game that it's looking like it's going to be a pretty solid one now with the Dolphins resurgence. But the 2-9 Giants at the 4-7 Cowboys, 4:30 on Fox. Cowboys 4-point favorite, over under 38. Tommy DeVito listed as a starter now. He's a little sore. I saw a potential forearm injury, so you might get Drew Lock in this one. Does it really matter there for you, Kev, or do you have the Cowboys winning this?
I don't think it really matters. I mean, in my opinion, Drew Lock should have started last week. I think he should be the starter this week, but I'll still go Cowboys 17, Giants 10, Cowboys -4, under 38. Just two franchises that have a ton of dysfunction going on at the moment. The Cowboys' dysfunction is quieted slightly as they were able to pull off the upset last week against the Commanders. Cooper Rush actually played all right last week, going 24 of 32, 2 touchdowns, and ended up with 117 pass rating. So I'll take my chances with Cooper Rush over Tommy DeVito. And then, as you kind of touched on, maybe we do end up seeing Drew Lock. I think that maybe could give the Giants a little bit of a spark, but I'll still go Cowboys here.
Yeah, the line actually moved to 3.5. I'm not sure if that was evident of the DeVito thing, but I agree. I think Drew Lock at least gives them a better chance to move the ball up and down the field. It was a real disappointing, I think, is not even the word for it, but I just had it here in my notes for this one. Like, you can't move the ball on offense with Tommy DeVito in the NFL. Maybe against this Cowboys defense that isn't as great as they were last year. That was such a good, like, high-flying defense. It seemed like they were just causing turnovers and picking everything off. Maybe you see a little bit of that this week, but whoever is a quarterback, I don't think they're going to be able to move the ball. As I said, this is a great game to make some family time, actually. Like, usually people are running back and forth between the TVs and whatnot. I don't think you're going to have to do that in this game. I think it's going to be a pretty big snooze fest. I like the under of 38. Cowboys 21, Giants 10. Cowboys -4, under 38. Only interest I think I'll have in this one, betting wise, is going to do like a Thanksgiving touchdown parlay, and maybe like a CeeDee Lamb or something like that. Other than that, this one isn't much of a watch for me. But that gives you some more room to watch some games at night, and you got a really good one, I think, with the Dolphins at 5-6, who have been surging over these last 3 weeks since Tua returned, going to Green Bay to play the 8-3 Packers, 8:20 p.m. on NBC. Packers -3.5. Over 47.5. And before we get into it, I was just randomly thinking last week watching the Packers, I was like, is there a field or a stadium that you like to watch better in the NFL than Lambeau Field? I feel like it just looks so much cooler out there.
Yeah, it does. I was actually on Zillow during the game looking at houses that are literally right across the street from Lambeau Field. It looks super cool. You walk out your front door and you're just in front of Lambeau. But to go back to the game, I am going Packers winning 30, Dolphins 21, Packers -3.5, over 47.5. The first thing I did when I saw this game was Google the weather in Green Bay for Sunday. It's going to be in the mid-20s, typical Lambeau weather this time of year. And I think that just means the Packers will win. I know it's always talked about Tua in cold weather, but he is 0-7 in his career when the temp is below 40 degrees. And this just feels like a step up in class to me for the Dolphins. I don't think they're ready to make it. For the Packers, Josh Jacobs ranks third in the league in yards after contact this season. I think given the time of year, the weather, you just see physically tough teams able to impose their will against teams that maybe not are as physically tough. I think Green Bay runs the ball a lot and is able to control the clock in this one. And as is always the case with Jordan Love, he just needs to protect the ball. I think he will. And I like the Packers in Green Bay.
Yeah, to double up on your Tua 0-7 under 40 degrees, the Dolphins have, just as a team themselves, have lost their last 11 games below 40 degrees, including the playoffs. So interesting there. That Chiefs playoff game last year really sticks out in my head. But I really like the over in this game. Since Tua has returned, the Dolphins are 3-0 and averaging 30.3 points per game over that time. Tua, I think you can maybe even make the argument, like, if we're actually talking most valuable player, it could be him, because that offense was humming and was really good last year. We know that they hit the lull kind of as it got colder per usual. But when he's in the lineup and when he's out of the lineup, I don't think there's a much different team in the league. It's pretty insane what the Dolphins look like with and without him. When you look at the Packers, though, why I really like the over in this game, as I said, since Tua got back, they're 3-0 and averaging 30.3 points per game. The Packers over the course of the season, whether it's been Jordan Love or Malik Willis, have been able to score eighth most points per game with 26.2 a night. I think we get a shootout in Lambeau on Thursday night. And I'm going to go with the Dolphins to pull off the upset, actually. Team is surging right now. I think they're confident. They're going to have to stop Jacobs. That is the main key, as you touched on, and what has been a really strong Green Bay Packers rushing attack. But I'm going to go with a little bit of chaos. I feel like there's going to be a lot of bets out there that are a three-leg moneyline parlay between the Lions, the Cowboys, and the Packers on Thursday night. I'm going to throw the Dolphins in there to throw a little chaos and a little wrench in everyone's Thanksgiving. They go to 6-6 and stay alive for the playoff hunt. And the Packers, with a loss here, pretty much lose any shot, I think, at the division title. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins, ruin some people's Thursday night, Thanksgiving night, and get the outright win. I'm going to go 31-27. Dolphins plus 3.5 over 47.5. All right, we go to Sunday now after covering the Thanksgiving games, and we go down to Atlanta, where the 6-5 Falcons host the 7-4 Chargers. 1:00 kick on CBS. Chargers 1.5 point favorite, over under 47.5. Chargers coming off a Monday Night Football loss. Falcons off a bye. Do you think the Falcons off the bye are able to get the win and kind of right some of their wrongs from the past few weeks, Kev?
Yeah, I'll go Falcons here, winning by a field goal, 24-21. So they cover the 1.5, under 47.5. Two teams I can never really get a feel on. Starting out the year, I really liked the Falcons. I was high on them. If you've ever listened before, you know I'm not super big on the Chargers. That is starting to change a little bit more this year with Jim Harbaugh being out there in LA. But I still never know who's going to show up for either of these teams. And the Chargers are on a short week with a cross-country 1 p.m. kickoff, while the Falcons are coming off the bye, as you noted. This is the last chance I'm giving the Falcons. I am picking them here, fully knowing I can get burned again. But I just think about their offense and how good they can be. I know they haven't been a lot this year, but they can be super good. And the Chargers still do lead the league in defensive points allowed per game. But we have seen over the past couple of weeks that the ball can be moved on them. I think it's just up to the Falcons if they're able to finish drives here. I don't feel super confident about it at all, but I'll go Falcons winning a close one.
Chargers defense has been starting to crack a bit. Through their first 9 games, they hadn't allowed more than 20 points in a single game. The last 2 games, they've allowed 30 points to the Ravens last night and 27 points to the Bengals. They also own 7 wins over teams that have a combined 26-52 record. So the wins that they've had haven't really exactly been great wins. So we've been seeing the Chargers kind of beat up and take advantage of some of these inferior teams. Falcons, a team with a winning record right now and probably a future division champ. So a big test here for the Chargers. I was surprised to see them favored here on the road, but not really to sugarcoat it. And I think everyone could see it last night when Justin Herbert's thrown to Quentin Johnson and Jalen Reagor that it's not a very talented Chargers team. And they are well coached, though, and that has really, I think, helped mask some of these deficiencies, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But when you don't have that talented of a roster, things like that get exposed over the course of the season, as we know. Now, as you noted, they're flying across country, 1 p.m. kick, short week, Falcons coming off a bye. The list can go on and on why this is a better spot for the Falcons here. And the Falcons are reeling a bit themselves. The Bucs are getting healthy and they're lurking as well. So this is a major game here for Atlanta, and a major spot that they need to go out there and get a win. So I like the Falcons to win this one outright. I'll take them 27-23, so plus 1.5 and over 47.5. And then I think there's going to start to be some real panic out there in LA with the Chargers at 7-5 if they're going to still have a chance to make the playoffs. All right, we go to 1:00 game on Fox out in Minnesota, where the 9-2 Vikings, the quietest 9-2 team I can remember in NFL history, they host the 6-5 Cardinals coming off a loss in Seattle last week. Vikings 4-point favorite here at home, over under 46.5. Do you like the Cardinals to bounce back or the Vikings to get the 10 wins?
I'm going Vikings to 10 wins, winning a close game here, 27-24. So the Cardinals do cover the 4 they're getting, over 46.5. The Cardinals had an awesome opportunity last week, and they just came out and laid a dud. While the Vikings continue to win close games, I think the Vikings pass rush will be able to get after Kyler and potentially force some turnovers. They are number 1 in the league with 2 takeaways a game, and they also just don't really turn the ball over themselves. I think Sam Darnold can have a nice day here, and I feel like Justin Jefferson is due for a monster day soon. TJ Hawkinson, since he's came back, and Jordan Addison have shown that they can take attention away from him, and we all know if he gets a one-on-one opportunity, he can pretty much win that every single time. Like I said, the Cardinals had their chance last week to truly assert themselves in the NFC playoff picture, and I think they may have missed their chance there, and I have them losing again this week.
Yeah, I said it kind of at the beginning, but the Vikings have had the quietest 9-2 season ever that I can remember in my lifetime. And the Packers at 8-3 are having a really nice season as well. It just happens the Lions are dominating at 9-1, and these two teams are kind of afterthoughts in their own division right now. But two teams that could make some noise come playoff time, I think, potentially there in the wild card. It's just they only have a couple losses, 2 losses for the Vikings, 3 losses for the Packers. Just the team in front of them has been arguably the best team in the league this year. So watch out for both of these teams come playoff time. I think they both could potentially win a game or 2. But the Vikings, just like the Chargers, haven't really beat great teams this year. The teams that they've beaten have a combined record of 39-62. Once again, you got to play who's in front of you, beat who's in front of you. But the Cardinals are one of the better teams the Vikings have played, so it should be a test. Cardinals need to bounce back here after only scoring 6 in Seattle last week, a pretty disappointing performance in a game that they were favored, they were a dog, kind of bounced back and forth throughout the week, but that was a game that they should have been at least a little bit more competitive. Cardinals also 2-3 on the road this year and are 0-4 now on the season when held below 14 points. The Vikings defense, I think, has the ability to stifle them a little bit at home with Brian Flores and what he's done with that defense this year. I'll have the Cardinals make this a game and keep it close with the cover, but I'm going to go Vikings win outright 23-20. So Cardinals +4 and the under of 46.5 there. Okay, we go to the 4:25 window now, probably the best game on Sunday. Potential Super Bowl preview here, Kev. I don't know what you think about that, but 9-2 Eagles coming off a big-time win out in LA against the Rams. And then the Ravens last night on Monday Night Football, they moved to 8-4. They have a big-time win on the road against the Chargers. 4:25 game on CBS here. Ravens 3-point favorite, over under is 50.5.
Yeah, very excited for this game. Huge opportunity for both teams to make a claim as the best team in their respective conferences. I'm going to go with the Eagles as they seem to be having a lot of fun and have not slipped up this season like the Ravens kind of have. And I feel like they're known for it at this point. Just every few weeks, they have just a dud of a game. I'm not saying they're going to have a dud here, but I'm going with the Eagles. Both teams that want to run the ball, but they also have a very good quarterback with excellent weapons all over the field. I'm going with the Eagles because of the defense. They are 3rd in third down defense, 5th in red zone defense, and 1st in opponents' yards per game. And they are beginning to get a little thin at D-line with the injuries to BG and then Bryce Huff, even though he wasn't playing a ton before, but could have been at least a rotational guy with BG going out now. It is going to be huge for the Eagles' edge rushers and linebackers to remain disciplined in this one and limit Lamar's rushing ability. The Ravens are very good against the run, so I think Jalen is going to have to step up and make some big throws here. And he's going to just need to be able to prove that he can do that in games where Saquon's not running for 200 yards. I think he answers the call this week. Eagles win 27-24. Eagles +3, over 50.5.
All right, this one is one I did a little bit of a deeper dive into in terms of finding some trends. Eagles 14-5 straight up against the AFC under Sirianni. They are 7-5 straight up with a rest advantage under Sirianni. As we noted, Eagles played Sunday. Ravens played Monday. Eagles are 23-11 on the road under Sirianni. Only 5-10 straight up as an underdog under Sirianni, but they are 5-5 straight up as an away underdog under Sirianni. That's second best in the NFL. So they're 0-5 as a home underdog under Nick Sirianni, but a few of those are like Jalen wasn't playing. I know last year during the collapse I was kind of in there. So if you take out some of the funky spurts, they've been pretty good in this spot. The biggest trend, though, I think to note in this Eagles Ravens game, Lamar is 23-1 against the NFC. It's almost like it's like an auto Ravens pick at that point when you're talking about that. It's very funny though. The only loss that Lamar Jackson has against an AFC team, or excuse me, an NFC team, is the New York Giants with Daniel Jones. That's pretty hilarious considering he just got cut from them this week. John Harbaugh also 34-24 as a head coach when his team has the rest disadvantage. That is the third best in the NFL since 2008 when he took over. So he's proven to be able to get his team up and ready for games where they don't have the rest advantage, and they're at a bit of a disadvantage, especially flying all the way back from California. But with all that being said, all that the trends and whatnot, I'm just going to stick to what I've been seeing on the television, and I'm just not picking against the Eagles right now. They're clicking on all cylinders. The Ravens are more stout against the run. I think it's going to be harder for Saquon and Jalen to get going on the ground this week. But prove me wrong. I mean, Saquon and the way that he's playing right now has been pretty insane. But I do expect the game plan to feature some more work in the passing game, especially if Devontae Smith's back. It could be a big day for the wide receiver duo. The Eagles go into Baltimore, keep it rolling with their sky-high confidence, and I think pull out the outright win. I'm going to go 28-24, Eagles +3, over 50.5. I think this one is back and forth to the end. Just the Eagles have a couple more playmakers, I think, on offense. That's the difference at the end of the day. All right, final game of the week. We go to Sunday Night Football. 49ers 5-6 at the 9-2 Bills. 8:20 kickoff on Sunday Night Football on NBC. Bills 6.5-point favorite here, over under 46. Last week we called it a do or die game for the 49ers going to Green Bay. We both picked the 49ers, but that was before Brock Purdy got ruled out. Definitely, I think this is the most do or die spot of the season for them. I think they're now like plus 400 to make the playoffs. So it's looking like a long shot, Kev. Do you think that they can go to Buffalo and get the win here?
No, I am going Bills winning pretty big, 34-14. Bills -6.5 over 47. You were saying how it's last week was a do or die. Definitely this week. I think they are dead. We said last week was their last chance, and they just didn't look good at all. Not sure if Purdy's going to be able to play this week again. I don't think it really matters. Since McCaffrey came back, that was kind of always like the big thing out there. Like, wait till Christian McCaffrey comes back. This offense will start looking a lot better. It hasn't since he came back. He's only averaging 3.5 yards per carry, and he also hasn't scored yet. Last year, he was a scoring machine, scoring pretty much every week. I don't know if he still have some lingering injuries or just there's a ton of injuries on that team. I just don't see them making the playoffs or winning this week. I think Josh Allen can have an excellent day here, just like Jordan Love and the Packers did last week. So I am going Bills winning pretty big.
49ers full-on implosion mode. We kind of already touched on, but we said last week was a got-to-have-it game. Purdy didn't even play, and that game was a rout from the start. You could just tell the way that Green Bay came out running the football with Josh Jacobs. It was going to be a long day for the 49ers, and for 4 quarters, they dominated them from start to finish, 38-10. 49ers couldn't even really move the ball without Purdy in there. You can't like them, I think, in this spot either on the road against a red-hot Bills team coming off a bye. The Buffalo Bills are the best team in the NFL as a home favorite since 2017, straight up when Sean McDermott took over. They have a 45-9 record in those spots, winning in 83.3% of their games. So Bills have been pretty much automatic in this spot as a home favorite. They're also 17-8 under McDermott when they have the rest advantage, and they certainly have it in this spot coming off a bye. Everything points to a Buffalo win here and the 49ers injury-filled season being all but done. I'll go Bills winning big as well, 32-17. Bills -6.5, and I will take the over of 47, just hitting there. Or excuse me, over 46. All right, dog of the day, lock of the week, and our touchdown scorer. We'll talk about my touchdown parlay at the end. Devastated still about that. Dog of the day, I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers at +3. They go to Cincinnati this week to play the Bengals. Bengals coming off a bye. Steelers, though, a mini bye with the Thursday night game. They kind of got to get back on track this week with a win. Mike Tomlin as a dog. We've talked about it a bunch here on the show. That's one of the more profitable spots in the league. And the Bengals haven't really shown the ability to blow anyone out. I think the Steelers find a way to keep that one close and potentially even win it outright. I'll go Steelers +3 as my dog of the day.
Yeah, my dog of the day, I'm going Titans +5.5 against the Commanders. The Titans continue to fight, and their defense is pretty solid, and then the Commanders have really struggled recently.
Yeah, good point there, I think, about the Titans. I think that's kind of the separating factor between them and some of these other teams at the bottom. They go out there and they play hard every week. Definitely not one of the more talented teams in the league, but they've been able to keep games close. So I like that one against a reeling Commanders team, I think, too. My lock of the week, we touched on that the Dolphins struggle in these conditions, but I think they're able to put up some points this week. I think this is a pretty low total. Packers-Dolphins over 47. Touched on Dolphins since Tua came back, 30.3 points per game. The Packers are averaging a little over 26 points per game. That's 8th best in the league. I think we can see a bit of a shootout in this one.
Yeah, I'm going an over for my lock of the week as well. Rams Saints over 47.5. The Saints have gone over in 7 of 11 of their games this season and 4 of their last 6. Both teams have offenses that can score and defenses that can also be prone to letting up some big plays.
Okay, and our touchdown score parlay of the week. Last week, I put $5 on an 11-leg parlay to win $20,000. I picked a touchdown scorer on every game on Sunday. I went 10 of 11. I had Roshan Johnson in the parlay, and he found his ass into the end zone. Kenneth Walker was the only player to not find himself in the end zone. Zach Charbonnet got 2 carries on the 2-yard line, and Kenneth Walker did not get 1. So sick to my stomach on that one. We're going to swing for the fence again this week with a big parlay for just $5 to win 20 grand. But still, that's a tough pill to swallow, especially considering I had Cooper Kupp as the final leg, and he scored in garbage time on Sunday Night Football. It would have cashed $20,000 bet. So bet Kenneth Walker this week to score at least 3 touchdowns, I think for sure. But I will never be touching a Kenneth Walker touchdown again in my life. With that being said, let's hit a 2-leg parlay. We haven't done it yet, Kev. We're due. I'm going to go A.J. Brown, +120 to score a touchdown this week against the Ravens. The Ravens give up the second most passing yards per game. I see this as a big passing day for the offense, and A.J. Brown, usually candidate number 1 to see the bulk of the targets in a pass-heavy game for the Philadelphia Eagles. Even if it's a run-heavy game, A.J. Brown's the go-to guy. So I'm going A.J. Brown +120. I think it's a bit of a heavier passing attack this week for the Eagles against a strong Ravens rush defense and a weak secondary. A.J. Brown +120 to score.
Yeah, my TD score, I'm going Jahmyr Gibbs -185. The past couple of weeks, I've been picking some plus money TD scores. Hasn't really gone well for me, and so I'm going Gibbs here minus money, and I think that the Lions can hang a pretty big number up against the Bears.
All right, that is a +235 parlay over at DraftKings. But that'll do it for this week on Beef Up Front. Thank you, as always, everyone, for tuning in. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Please like, subscribe, and we'll talk next week.